saying to yourself, yeah, who are those guys? Used to see them on Saturday nights, and all of a sudden they just disappear and they reappear whenever they feel like it. I know, but there's a logical explanation for that. As the one and only Jade and Ace Mon X here are back with you for another edition of the Wrestling Weekend Recap. We want to apologize for not having to do an episode the previous week, as it almost seems like we weren't going to be able to do another episode for this week. Unfortunately, Jade and I, well, beginning with him, unfortunately, he was caught under the weather with something, been dealing with coughing, barely any sneezing or runny nose.
That was a week ago.
That was a week ago. Yeah, and then myself, after having to experience one of these crazy type of beers up in Lockport, Illinois, my good friend Doc and his wife had to. They wanted it to invite me over to this bar called Nick and Ivy's. Cool establishment. But because of the change in weather, it wasn't really a good time to actually try out the coldest beer that ever existed. And I took a chance at it, and unfortunately for me, hours later, I ended up being sick myself, having to deal with a sore throat. Been dealing with a runny nose. Still am dealing with that a little bit, but I should hopefully be out of the woods. I mean, this crazy change of weather and temperatures is just ridiculous. And we're supposed to be in summertime. All of a sudden, it's like we're experiencing a preview of what fall could be if it was October. So that would be the case. But nonetheless, we know that we're running this episode on a Sunday. We know that it's going to be a Monday, really sooner. Technically, it is a Monday, but I consider Monday already at 2 o'clock on the dot in the morning. Still a lot of things in wrestling already took place, and we haven't been able to cover everything. Like, for example, of course, we witnessed Jay White showing up ever since Slammiversary, and obviously his agenda has been very clear of him wanting to defend his Never Openweight Championship against David Finlay, but also there's a matter of the former OG members of Bullet Club, now known as the Elite, taking on the current leader of a Bullet Club, Switchblade Jay White. A lot of that going on. Also, there's been some talk of the times of when Daniel Bryan and CM Punk could show up to AEW as far as the Chicago shows are concerned, adding one more into the mix, which is AEW's Rampage of the First Dance. That's going to come for the first time ever to the United Center in Chicago. That's going to be coming up real soon in the month of August. We know that Monday Night Raw is going to take place later on. They're going to arrive here in town at the Allstate Arena in a matter of hours. I'm not really hopeful of Raw, to be honest, because if something were to happen where Raw can be knocked off the ballpark for one night, then, Jade and I, we would have got tickets. We would have had more guys dragged along with us, and we would have definitely had a good time. But something told me ever since the breakout of August 2nd and Monday Night Raw coming to Allstate Arena, and with the way things were going, something tells me that it's not going to be a very decent show, but that's just me. And even I was up to the point where I think Jade and I, if he's up for it, I think we should do a live reaction to the episode of Monday Night Raw from the Allstate Arena. We just, normally for Raws, we just DVR it and we watch it late at night. We don't literally watch it live, because now with the DVR in existence, we could pretty much record anything at any time. But if we didn't have DVRs and if we're still in the era of videotapes, then we would just tape the damn thing and watch it live, and then having to give ourselves an encore presentation after that, if the episode was good. But nonetheless, let's get started. And I think, while we're under the weather and Chicago's literally on fire with all these events going on, Like I said, Monday Night Raw is going to take place later on in a matter of hours. Then after that, then we got the AEW shows, Dynamite. What is first? The first Rampage that they mentioned, or Rampage is first dance?
First dance.
So first dance is going to be The first dance is going to be first to come to air out on TV.
Yes.
Then the following week, Dynamite at the Now Arena.
Yes.
Same thing with Rampage.
Yes.
And then All Out.
Yeah.
They still hate the fact that All Out is already sold out. But we're still talking about having to do a live reaction for All Out. So that option is still on the table. My friend Doc is hellbent on wanting to order it, and I gave him the idea, hey, instead of just, Jade and I, we want to include you to get your opinions of everything that's been going on in wrestling. So we really want to make this live reaction a little bit different, not just the two of us having to watch over the big screen and pretty much give you a different type of atmosphere. We don't know if it's going to be done, in this, in this room, as you can see where the background is pretty much us, or if we're going to do it at a different establishment. That is still talked about it. So, there's options in the air going on of where that can happen, but I really want to make a live reaction to All Out. That is definitely no questions and ifs or buts about it. So that's still going to be a discussion that is still not the end of it. We're still talking about that. So while we're talking about Chicago and all of these events, the two names that obviously have been the talk of the town when it comes to players moving to AEW is Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. And yet we can wonder why these two athletes are a big deal. I got to see some old school footage from Ring of Honor when Bryan Danielson came into the scene and had some great matchups with. I seen him had matchups with AJ. He had matchups with Joe and other guys. We got to see a little bit of Punk from the early days of TNA during the Asylum years and other matches in between. But obviously their popularity of peak once they came to the WWE, and I'm talking about both of them. I don't recall if these two ever crossed each other in WWE. Maybe they have during the indie days. But Jay, you tell me why these two men are a huge deal now more than ever than once they peaked in popularity with WWE, even if these guys probably never met one another in the ring at that time.
Well, all I could say is that these two men, what is the CM Punk, Phillip Brooks, and Bryan Danielson, these two men pretty much worked their butts out just to make names for themselves in the wrestling industry, and pretty much when they go through all the independents, they pretty much are to pretty much what is the big time in WWE. It was pretty much could be the opening for something new, something different, and pretty much both men pretty much clawed the way to the top of the WWE in their own separate journeys, and it is because of those separate journeys that these two men had pretty much endured what they could, but through unexpected occurrences, between WWE, between CM Punk and the WWE, they couldn't see ahead. They couldn't agree on that, which is why there was a battle on that, and therefore CM Punk left WWE. But with Bryan Danielson, he pretty much wrote it as much as he could, but then it cut to a point in his career where he wanted to experience something else. And pretty much all I got to say is that these two men who came from the independent scene, who ended up going to the WWE, rose to the ranks of the WWE, and you cannot discount what they accomplished, and that is why they're truly one of the most red hot free agents right now in the wrestling industry, and it will be a coup for AEW to sign both of them, and that's pretty much what could be the outlook. Could that possibly happen in about a week or so at the first dance? It will be a homecoming of sorts for CM Punk for him to return to the wrestling business with AEW, and pretty much for Daniel Bryan to for Bryan Danielson, but yeah, to say he wants to explore a different to explore different brands, different companies, different possibilities. That would be also a key for him to establish his stock in this industry.
Um, and pretty much while the talks are for them to come around this timeline in August, I heard that Bryan Danielson and Daniel Bryan, whichever name he's going to use, they're going to have him debut first in AEW. I think that's going to give a really good reaction. Excuse me, a really positive reaction, because this is something that the world never thought they would ever see. And of course, the truth behind Daniel Bryan, in reality, wanted to stick around with WWE is because, supposedly there were talks that, maybe WWE could do some business with New Japan, and this could be an open window for Daniel Bryan to take advantage of and have his name, be heard in Japan and get it on with wrestlers in Japan, because I'm pretty sure there's talent that he would love to work with over there. And we would like to see that ourselves. But unfortunately, the talks with WWE and New Japan, that didn't happen at that point. Supposedly, I heard that report maybe 2-3 months ago. And I just heard recently that those talks were just beginning recently now. Like not in the now, but maybe, when did I hear about that report? Maybe about a week ago, maybe several weeks ago. So it's like, what's the point of doing it now when Daniel Bryan's already gone? And Bryan didn't even resign with WWE. So if the timelines could have been a little bit different, then maybe there would have been a reason for Daniel Bryan to stay. And that way, his chances of, going to Japan or having Japan come to him and having to wrestle whoever has their name recognized in Japan, then obviously that would have built more credit for Daniel Bryan, and he would definitely have his name out there as an international superstar. But now those chances are flown out the window, and Daniel Bryan can see an opportunity with AEW because they're working with New Japan, or he can go with Impact, or whichever one. But bottom line is, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, he will definitely have that opportunity once in AEW. He can go into some tournament in Japan with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and from there, he can get it on with those big names and just work there, and obviously have some. I'm pretty sure he's got a bucket list of guys he wants to work with. So that would be. It would be like an ooh ah once he sees the pool of talent, and that way he could, or probably he already has a list, 15, 20 guys that he wants to work with and have a really good match with, and that'll be historic for him. There's no doubt about it. For CM Punk, I heard that from the reports that they would have him set to that's supposedly for Rampage, the first dance. That would be his debut. But I think if the signs would have been so strong, and this would definitely be it, I think they would have had him debut at All Out. That would, you would open up strong that pay-per-view, but you can end it stronger with the crowd blowing the roof off the Now Arena and have Punk show up. The crowd will go crazy. Nonetheless, the crowd will go crazy. Doesn't matter if it's All Out, a Dynamite, a Rampage, any of those venues that Punk would go to. He will, with his presence, he will blow the roof off of any arena that he steps into, because this guy hasn't been seen in a wrestling venue over how long now?
Years, long years.
Long time.
Long time, yeah.
And for him to make his return would be an epic sign of best things to come. No pun intended. But yeah, supposedly they're going to have him debut for the First Dance. I think they should top off this whole Chicago scenery for All Out. And then we don't know how long AEW's got this window open when it seemed to close, because with Delta already landing and only approaching, and it only would get more dangerous, it seems like we're going to go back to square one once the fall and the winter comes back. And that's going to be another devastation and another true test of how long us human beings can survive just being out there and having to wear masks, having to be distanced, and and everything that has to go with CDC guidelines. And that's going to be another typical crap to deal with, but we got no choice but to deal with it, And now it's to the point where it's like everybody needs to be vaccinated. There's no ifs and buts about it. Everybody needs to be vaccinated, but once they see that it's only going to hit them hard for not doing what they're supposed to do, then at the end, what's the point of them just having to regret it or to say, I'm sorry, you should have done it earlier? What's the point? But everybody's got an option, everybody's got a choice. But then when those choices hit you hard, and if it's not the right choice, yeah, who's at the end of the
stick?
Exactly. Yes. Thank you very much. So, nonetheless, AEW is capitalizing on them coming back to Chicago, and they're giving us 4 nights of unforgettable action. And AEW is red hot. Once they get here, it's only going to get hotter, because of the Chicago fans, despite of what I stated in the last several weeks or so. But nonetheless, we are the most passionate wrestling fans that the world has ever seen. Because if that wasn't the case, All In wouldn't have been born here. And AEW wouldn't have launched after the biggest payday that everybody saw for All In back in 2018. And, I remember like if it was yesterday. And I think if we ever would get our hands on that footage, whether it be New Japan or Ring of Honor, and do some type of a reaction to that, or call the action from years ago, it would be reminiscing of how at that time how fortunate I was to be there and witnessing history. What I regret is not having you there with me and several other guys with me, and to say it's like, damn, we were lucky that you were even there. Yeah, I'm lucky that I was there, but I wish I was that lucky to witness All Out. And already 3 All Outs in a row that it doesn't happen. I don't know if it's destiny or whatnot, but it's like, we're not meant to go there. We're not meant to be there. But nonetheless, so let's go with a quick review and highlights of what happened this past week with Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw, another so-and-so show. I mean, there wasn't nothing extravagant. There were some repeated matches. There were some matches that were repeated that we got to see the other side, get a win as far as to balance the scales. So that was awesome. The one thing that I think WWE kind of did a whole bad turn was Nikki Ash. You have her in this incredible ride where she's having to winning numerous matches. You're building her up, and then of course Charlotte Flair, this the Almighty Queenie, has to stay almighty and all of that and whatnot. She has to stay at the top of the scale, at that pivotal pike, and now you just want to flat out Nikki Ash. I mean, she already capitalized on Charlotte, got the title, she won it, and now what you're supposed to do is try to build her up, not bring her down. And at the end of Raw, it's like, yeah, you made her lose a match, and then you're gonna have her do a rematch. That's kind of weak, and then on top of that, Chicago has to witness this in a matter of hours. Are we really gonna see the end of Nikki Ash? Because this is like one big hit, and then if you put her and Charlotte and the triple threat of SummerSlam, it's like, yeah, Nikki Ash and her superhero persona, the one that she came up with, and now you're just gonna demolish it within a very short amount of time. It's like, what was the whole point of this? You just bring out Nikki's idea and then you squash it within a matter of time. I don't find it fair for her. I wouldn't find it fair for the fans that are already going, getting behind her and supporting her, and it's like, is this really a waste of time, or was all of this done in vain? We don't know, but that's the one big, huge problem that I have with that. I know I haven't acknowledged Doudrop and Eva Marie, but at this point, as long as you have her being tortured by Lily and Little Miss Bliss, I'm all for that. I'm really all for that, because, yeah, that selfish needs to be tortured. I wish she was tortured in real life, because she really has nothing good to offer. Her best days are behind her. Piper Niven shouldn't be doing this Doudrop character. I mean, it's beneath her. She's worth so much more, to be honest. But hey, she's on main event television. She's in the big time, and let's see how long this lasts. We got to see AJ Styles and almost defend their tag team titles against the Viking Raiders. Viking Raiders gave them hell, but at the end of it, we knew that AJ Styles and almost were going to keep their titles. Damien Priests versus Sheamus, that was the inevitable. But we got to see how Damien Priest was very serious of wanting to kick Sheamus' ass, especially how Humberto Carrillo tried so many times to get a shot at the U.S. title, and Sheamus always done everything that he could to cut him off at the pass, and that was it. Drew McIntyre having to go after one of Jinder Mahal's guys, and he introduced another guy of the same, race and background, only to get demolished. Okay, and then it feels like you got Drew McIntyre back as a mid-carder, superstar, the mid-card. Yeah, what's up with that? Keith Lee takes another loss to Karrion Kross. What's up with that? I mean, I get it that you want to give a win to Karrion Kross, and then unfortunately Jeff Hardy ended up getting COVID. So we wish Jeff Hardy a speedy recovery, and hopefully he gets tested negative. Nonetheless, I hope that's the case. But yeah, Keith Lee loses to Karrion Kross. You could have put someone else to lose to Karrion Kross, to be honest. No, that's just suck ass. It is. Mansoor and Mustafa going up against Mason T-Bar. I was shocked. Here I thought here I thought Mustafa Ali didn't want to do anything with Mansoor, and at the end it worked out to Mansoor's favor. And then it's like, okay, are these guys really going to come along and work as a tandem, or is this just something where it's like kind of one-sided eerie type of thing, and it's like, you know, it could get there could be a little mischief and trying to get a win, or even if they won it and the other partner's like trying to make you screw it up, but then, you know, you're trying to fight all the odds, and then, oh, we got to win again, you know. So that was kind of interesting. Hopefully, you know, it could go to that fact. Bobby Lashley took on his former business associates of the what used to be the Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander, Sean Benjamin. I mean, they gave it everything they had, but of course, Bobby Lashley took a poke at Goldberg with the spear and the jackhammer. Yeah, way to insult your opponent, right? And yet, the previous week, he got in his face and told him, "I'm next." I want to see that. And we're going to see that at SummerSlam. Riddle and John Morrison. That was a really good match. That was a very interesting match. Hats off to both of those guys. Reginald and R-Truth. Reggie now got to be a little bit more interesting now that he's done with the whole Nia Jax thing, and we knew it was going to be a short time. But then right away, that window of opportunity opened for him. He became the new 24/7 on-demand champion with his whole, you know, having to do the flips and how athletic he is. I think now the 24/7 angle is getting a little bit more interesting now with him as a champion. So now we're going to see how creative he can get, evading from this line of guys that wants a shot at his title. It's a really a good thing about it. It's a really good concept of catch me if you can, in a way. And yeah, that is it. It looks like it gave a really good, well, somewhat of a decent review for Raw. For NXT, NXT did a pretty good episode, even though it aired on Sci-Fi. Here I thought we didn't have Sci-Fi because we had Sling, and it turns out, oh yeah, we had Sci-Fi. And we didn't check that out late on Tuesday. We ended up checking it out on Wednesday late. If I didn't check my DVR with frequency, or even the guide to know we had Sci-Fi, yeah, then I would have just knocked my head open for saying, "Hey man, what the hell's up with you?" You know. But nonetheless, what I want to start out with is, yes, Samoa Joe. He's finally given up his position of you know, being associate of Willie Regal and trying to calm the waters with NXT and its roster, because now Joe is going to get involved literally with Karrion Kross in the NXT title. And I want Joe to win. I really want Joe to win. And the world is excited for Samoa Joe to get back in that ring, because it's been months. It's been months, I think, since the beginning of this year, or maybe last year. I mean, it felt like a long time. But nonetheless, Joe's going to be back in the ring. He's going to face Karrion Kross at NXT TakeOver 36, and that is on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Because SummerSlam is going to be on Saturday this year, and TakeOver 36 will be on Sunday. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting. Another thing that finally we were expecting to take off in a way, I was kind of iffy with this one. I mean, we were waiting for Dakota Kai to backstab Raquel Gonzalez and say that she's the next contender to her NXT Women's Championship. But the little problem that I had with it is they could have they could have given it a more they could have given it a very strong build-up. They could have given it something more decent. I felt like if it was like, yeah, they gave it to you like that. It was kind of unexpected, but I was expecting it sometime soon, and they could have really built it up a little bit more. I felt like Dakota kind of betrayed her. I mean, the kick was kind of cool, but they could have done a little bit more, to make it look more personal. I know they made it personal now, but they could have done it just a little bit more. They could have added a little bit more dynamic to it and say, "Oh yeah, you're the reason why I've been holding back. You're the reason why you holding the belt. That should have been me." And da da da. They could have. I mean, the timing of it was kind of imprecise, with the Olympics and everything. But if this could have been aired on USA, this probably could have been the one highlight, the biggest highlight piece of them all. And you know what? While we're at it, I think we should just go back and relive that one. But I also want to relive the ring event that took place with Samoa Joe and William Regal first, before anything else. Because those were some pretty good moments to me that I think stood out from NXT. And besides the matches, some matches that took place that stood out as well. Let's listen in.
I understand your anger. Don't say anything. I understand. I can see the rage bubbling behind your eyes, and I understand. Carrying Cross into you, you're right. It was reprehensible. It was wrong. And I know that tonight you're going to fire Carrying Cross.
And so that was the original idea. Fire.
I have a better solution. I have a much better solution. I have a way to satisfy all our needs in 3 easy steps. All you need to do is just warn me. Step number 1. With this piece of paper, I tender my resignation to NXT management, effective immediately. I quit. But with this piece of paper and your signature, you reactivate me as a part of the active roster.
So how the crowd was scoring on one. Yeah, 100% too. Signed, sealed, delivered.
But of course, I said that this was a 3-step process. And with this paper, you will make official Samoa Joe versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship at TakeOver 36.
Yeah. There's this guy Regal's signature. Now, was that a moment or was that a moment? It's like two guys standing in the ring looking at each other square in the eye. It's like, you want this to happen. You can make this happen. Just let me take care of it. And you know how I can take care of it. And he's got to have that faith in Joe, because he's the only one who can finish the job. If him being a part of the NXT management can barely get anything solved, him being a part of the active roster and already 100% health and recovery, Joe can definitely go a whole lot more farther in taking care of Karrion Kross and the NXT Championship.
All I got to say is that it is a thrill to see Samoa Joe back, coming back in the ring. But we know for sure that there's one thing that Karrion Kross likes to do is carve as many notches. He pretty much defeated the likes of Keith Lee. He pretty much defeated the likes of Finn Balor and all those. But the question will be, will Samoa Joe be his next notch for Karrion Kross to carve?
That is true. So now we're going to go to the audio clip that features Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai for them to wonder who would be the next opponent for the women's champion.
Last week, I crushed one of the most feared superstars in the women's division. I have dominated every single person who has stepped up to the plate. Dime, ¿quién sigue? Who's next? Yo soy la más poderosa, peligrosa y chingona de todo WWE. All I have to say is, keep them coming. 18 months ago, you debuted. And you've been absolutely unstoppable ever since.
I don't know, it's still
You know what I tell people? My best friend, Big Mommy Cool,
Big Mommy Cool.
is the most dominant woman in NXT history.
So that makes her Pink HBK.
More dominant than Charlotte Flair, than Asuka, than Shayna Baszler. You have defeated former champions in Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Ember Moon, and everyone else that has stood in your path. The list will go on, and it will continue to go on. Do you know why the NXT Women's Division is one of the greatest?
Tell us.
It's because of one woman. NXT TakeOver is 4 weeks away. So let me ask this. Who is woman enough to challenge Raquel? Huh? Come on, man! Which woman knows in their soul they have what it takes to walk down this ramp, stand in this ring, and face Raquel? Is there anyone? Anyone at all? We're waiting! Huh? What about over here? No. No. There is no one. We have been through so much together. And as long as I have your back, you will always be champion. Xia Li and Dakota Kai, she named him. She ran member Io Shirai. She's traded everyone. Raquel Gonzalez sits
Right
at the
here.
top. The NXT Women's Division.
Big Money.
What the hell?
Yeah, that kick in the corner really spoke volumes. And do you see what was the pattern here? Dakota Kai was asking anybody in the back. She wanted to make sure that nobody answered the challenge but her. So obviously that took a really good 2 minutes to show that nobody wanted to step up to Raquel, but the one that was been waiting for her for all this time was Dakota Kai. And like I said, the backstabbing finally happened. Now we're going to see if this is going to get any personal than it should because of one thing that has eluded Dakota Kai throughout her entire run in NXT, and that's the NXT Women's title.
There's a saying in life and it couldn't be true, and that's a leopard can never change its spots. And that's pretty much true because pretty much Dakota Kai pretty much tied up with Raquel Gonzalez. Are pretty much these two are pretty much gelling, and it's kind of ironic that their tag team championship run was unfortunately short lived. That could have been a lot more, but the moment these two lost the NXT women's tag titles, it was clearly evident that you could see the jealousy demonstrated in Dakota Kai's face. The more Raquel Gonzalez pretty much demolish every opponent that comes away, and pretty much Dakota Kai is saying, "I'm sick and tired of us. I'll take a backseat to you." It's like the only person who should be holding the NXT Women's Championship should be me. So therefore, Dakota Kai says now she has a chance to prove herself, to say if she can go toe to toe with someone that she used to call a friend.
Also, what took place: Carmelo Hayes versus Josh Briggs in the breakout tournament. I was all for Carmelo Hayes, and he ended up winning the match. Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher went on against Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan. It was a pretty good match until guess who showed up?
Yep, Mr. Ridge Holland.
And he became the third man to join the tandem of the Bruiserweight and Oney Lorcan. There used to be the current SmackDown commentator, Michael Cole's new partner, which is the loudmouth in the Sirius XM.
Wade Barrett, yes.
No, not Wade Barrett. No, the Michael Cole's partner on SmackDown.
Oh, Pat McAfee.
There you go, Pat McAfee. Since when does Wade Barrett has his own Sirius XM radio show?
No, I guess not. Well, podcast used to have.
I mean, not to say that Wade Barrett doesn't deserve one, not to say that he won't have any people hear him. I think he's got a lot to say, but maybe that should be in his plans if he doesn't have one. But unless if he does have one, then I need to, try to find it and tune in because unless if he does those cool lines of, "Ladies and gentlemen, can I have some decorum, please? And I'm afraid I got some bad news." Those type of lines, then that would be a listener 100%, and I would follow it all the way until it's no more, pretty much. And I miss those lines. Those were classic Bad News Spirit. Zoe Stark tries to, convince Io Shirai, now that they're tag champions, that they should get along and that Io Shirai should give her a chance. Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter won against Frankie Monet and Jessica May. I think that match kind of hurted Frankie Monet because we know that she's an established wrestler, but new to this Frankie Monet character, I think that's kind of a jab right there. Hopefully, this isn't one of so many losses that can continue throughout her role, because that would really damage, in a way, the rep that the woman behind this character would want to put up with, if you know what I mean. Speaking of Wade Barrett, he got the chance to talk to Malcolm Bivens and Roderick Strong about the origins of the what was that group's name? You gotta know the group's name.
Diamond Mine.
The Diamond Mine. Then why he is the head man of it, because that's what it looks like. Roderick Strong is the head man of this trio, this formerly new trio, that with Malcolm Bivens, he can take this all the way up to the high heavens, Hit Row had a very decent match against Imperium, but if it wasn't for the interference of Legado del Fantasma, then we wouldn't have seen what we have seen. And I'm already liking it. I mean, Hit Row, the way they did their promo in Spanish, oh man, they goodness gracious, they did a really good one, man. I'm impressed, really impressed. Hit Row, keep it going. Obviously, it shows that there's no ignorance here, but nonetheless, that they can play with the best of them at any language, any type of talk. Hit Row is there. They're obviously up to speed, but Legado del Fantasma, I guess they took some type of offense to it that they had to cheap shot in their match with Imperium. nonetheless. And a crazy match was made for next week's NXT when it involves Johnny Gargano against Dexter Lumis. If Dexter Lumis wins, then him and Indy Hartwell, they gotta be a couple. They gotta be in a relationship, and the Gargano parents, they gotta let it go. They have to, but they're acting like children themselves. And if Johnny Gargano wins, well, then this whole thing of Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis is not gonna happen. They get to keep their daughter. They get to keep their virgin daughter. It's like they get to keep their virgin daughter. They're not going to let them hang around with a creepy, psychotic madman in Dexter Lumis. So it feels kind of cartoony-ish, but I don't know. It's kind of funny. Bronson Reed against Adam Cole, the main event. My God, it was nuts. It was completely nuts. Bronson gave it his all, but Adam Cole once again proving it time and time again on why this guy is one of the best wrestlers that we've seen in NXT already for a good amount of years. Why he is at the top of the Matterhorn, and why Adam Cole by rules NXT. But unfortunately for him, Kyle O'Reilly came in and he took care of Adam Cole. My God, it ended up really nasty with a chair shot, and then having to land on his back from I think it was the steel steps.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, just having to talk about it gives me the shivers. But whoa, what a way to shut down, to end the NXT show that Tuesday. My goodness. And then of course throughout the entire show, they had these vignettes with Cameron Grimes and LA Knight out there in the golf course. It was just some hilarious stuff. But I think we're seeing some good funny items here. Got to see the peak of laughter, and I mean it was just silly, but it was hilarious nonetheless. It was some really, really funny stuff. I mean, for reals. So we're gonna jump to AEW pretty quick. I know this is already 2 o'clock in the morning, and we all gotta get the hay. AEW's been smoking, like literally, man. They had some really good shows. Fight for the Fallen was just recently, right? It just happened this past Wednesday. But then Fyter Fest, both nights, was just incredible. And we know that Fight for the Fallen, it was only gonna be a little bit, just a teeny bit out top. Not to say that you could expect some really good stuff, but that would have been the case. But nonetheless, I think the biggest headline was like what we just talked about earlier on. They announced, and there's been rumors and speculations about having United Center being involved for another AEW event, and it turns out it came true that the major announcement that Tony Khan was talking about, or that wanted to bring out, even though it was mentioned by Tony Schiavone, was the fact that on Friday, August 20th, Rampage: The First Dance will be at the United Center. The preseason, the pre-sale tickets went out over 10,000. 10,000 plus tickets were sold. And if they're gonna sell those later on also in a matter of hours, I can't imagine how that's gonna be like. I mean, it is a big deal. They're back at the United Center. There hasn't been a wrestling event in the United Center since on live television since Monday Nitro, the last one that you and I have been on. Mm-hmm. With do you remember what was that date?
That was November. It was November
of 2000.
Yeah, November 2000.
And we were there for the combo of Thunder, Nitro, and Thunder.
Yes.
Because Nitro was live, Thunder was taped. So we had a treat. Even though at that time the shows kind of sucked ass, but we were just there to see the major players like Kevin Nash. We got to see him. We got to see DDP, and others. But the shows, they weren't really all that top to be. And then we got to see the remembrance of Mancow and Jimmy Hart. It's like, okay, we already got to see you two at Spring Stampede.
Yeah.
And now we're just seeing you guys try to recreate something that was already done. It's like, he's going to have to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the Chicago tie between them two, and how popular Mancow was at the time when he was still rolling with the radio show of his. So August 20th, Friday, United Center, Rampage, the first dance. The tickets will be on sale in a matter of hours. It's technically 2:03, so I guess around 10 in the morning. So if you guys don't want to get sucker like me, and if you have the Ticketmaster app, I don't know which one was the bigger advantage, the Ticketmaster app or just the Ticketmaster.com itself, having an account. I mean, I should have tried it just both ways. I should have stuck with the app. I don't know. Only people that were lucky to buy the tickets, only they found a master plan on how to take advantage of being the ones that would get the tickets, ready right away. But nonetheless, the event that took place this Wednesday, Fight for the Fallen, we got to see some really, really good stuff. Of course, the previous week we got to see that the first member Bullet Club that decided to cross to AEW was none other than Hikuleo, which was the youngest son of King Haku Meng, who also made his appearance along his son, as he got a shot at the IWGP US title and the new champion, second time U.S. champion Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk Monster. He defended that belt successfully against Hikuleo, but still, he's the first Bullet Club member that crossed to AEW and made a shocking appearance. Well, what started out the show was obviously the what was it, the 5-man?
Yes,
Both sides, 10-man tag.
10-man tag.
Hangman and the Dark Order, and of course the Elite Squad. They came out in really special entrances. Both entrances were awesome. And of course, at the very end, the Elite won. And obviously, there were reports that Adam Page was not going to be a part of the main event with Kenny Omega to go for the AEW title at All Out. Hopefully, once we get to this Saturday, we can come up with a report of sorts of why is it that Adam Page is not going to be in the main event picture. Also, we witnessed Cody Rhodes in the gorilla position. They were going to have a talk with him about Mr. Black. And I mean Mr. Black. May I repeat? Mr. Black. Mr. Malachi. Yes. Malachon Black. And supposedly they're going to have their match this coming Wednesday in the House of Black. Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes. That one's going to be very interesting to watch. Very interesting. And finally, the word broke out that Thunder Rosa is officially AEW. This should have happened a long time ago, but obviously she had a very nitpick contract with NWA, so she had to, stick with it and make sure that she was with it until the time of the contract ran out. And finally, she's AEW for good. Can't wait to see her having matches of her dreams, even though we got to see some of them, but now legitimately under the AEW banner. And we got to see the promo of Tanahashi, and seeing Tanahashi for the first time ever on AEW through TNT. It shocked the hell out of me, but obviously he was there to say that whoever won the United States Championship match, that he was going to be the next contender. And of course, Jon Moxley was super pissed. He had to do a promo of his own saying, "Oh, what the hell, man? You were ducking me, you were dodging me, And it's like, you didn't even dare give me the time of day, and I'm pissed off. Well, you know what? Well, yeah. If you come here, I'm going to take care of you. Or even if I see you over there, if I'm over there in Japan, I'll take care of you. Bottom line is Moxley, the Max Man, wants to take care of the Japan version of John Cena. And boy, does he want him ever. Because I think Moxley and Tanahashi, that would be a tremendous match. I think that match will transcend hashtags, that will transcend historians who watches wrestling, that will transcend generations. I think those two will be on very equal footing, to be honest. It would be one of those special matches where it's like, I'm glad we got to witness it. Even if you were there live, I'm happy to witness it. Even if we got to witness it on TV, I'm happy to witness it. I think that's going to be one heck of a match, nonetheless. Whether they make it soon, whether they want to wait till Wrestle Kingdom, an all-out match,
Resurgence,
yeah, and any type, but Moxley and Tanahashi, that would be a great match. Got to see Christian Cage and Jungle Boy going against the HFO of the Hardy Family Office. Santana and Ortiz against FTR. It was a very, really good match. Unfortunately, Cash Wheeler suffered a freak accident in the premises of their match, which caused them to end the match very quickly and give the win to FTR. But we want to wish Cash Wheeler a speedy recovery, man, because you guys believe in old school wrestling. That is awesome. That to me, you are the embodiment of what the Andersons used to be back in the day, and it's good that it's kept alive in this generation of wrestling, even though it's a whole lot different than how it was the old school way. But we're content of the fact that there's some old school antics that believe in the old school antics like FTR. That's what makes these guys special, and that they're going to be kept in wrestling for a long, long time. But we got to have Cash Wheeler 100%. That way, Max Hardwood. Dex Hardwood. I'm sorry, Max Hardwood. Confusing him with the other guy, Dex Hardwood. Yeah, they almost look like Chris Jericho said at the time. Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler, they both got to be at 100%, but it's Cash Wheeler who's in that injury. Hopefully he recovers fast enough to come back and FTR back at full strength, and that way that could make the Pinnacle stronger than they were before, obviously. Ricky Starks had a parade to celebrate his FTW championship win against the former champion Brian Cage, but of course they shouldn't have talked the big game because Brian Cage came in and decided to beat up on the parade guys, on the instrument guys. Poor them. They had nothing to do with it. But because Ricky Starks was such a chicken, I mean, he ran away like a chicken. If he plucked like a chicken, and if he sounded like a chicken, then he's a damn chicken holding a championship. He doesn't deserve to hold a championship. If he's a screw the world type of guy, well, yeah, he's screwing the world by running away like a chicken. And Brian Cage, of course, he's been left with his freaking hands empty, wanted to beat the hell out of that guy. My goodness. And then, of course, to last it all, the Labors of Jericho, the second match. He got in with one of the... We never heard of this guy before. Obviously, an Indies guy, an Indies hardcore, sick-ass bastard who used to rob banks, who used to be put in jail. And then this guy, now all of a sudden, to some, he's a wrestling hero. Like, really? Once a loser, always a loser. But since I don't know Nick Cage like that, I'm not gonna put down the guy. I mean, we got to see some really sick shit in that match with Chris Jericho. And on top of that, Domino's Pizza is, beyond overboard of having to be one of the sponsors for AEW, because coincidentally, while Nick Cage was holding the pizza cutter on one end, and then on the other side, you see the Domino's commercial. I didn't pay no attention to it. I thought that was just like, if you really would have paid attention to the commercials It's like, oh shit, that's a coincidence. Which is what Moxley's response was when he got interviewed for a podcast. John Moxley said that Domino's needs to chill out. It was just a coincidence, but obviously, it went viral and it was what it was, and it's like, yeah, you'll never see Domino's pizza commercials on AEW again. Wow, that's a snap. That's a snap on the bottom. But nonetheless, there was some sick shit, and at the end, Chris Jericho survived it. And now what's going to happen next week is that we're going to go to a flashback of the WCW. Well, they'll bring the Juvie juice. If you smell what the juice is. How in the hell can you even cook a juice Juvie? Juventud Guerrera? It doesn't make any sense. But still, because The Rock was hot at the time, we thought that he could, like what the saying was, what was it? The
imitation is the best form of flair.
Yes. But nonetheless, Juventud Guerrera is a phenomenal high flyer back in his day. Member of the LWO. Juvi was the best at being the high flyer, especially when they had the mask. When they had the mask off, obviously that attracted all the ladies. And all the ladies wanted to be with the Juice Man. So Juvi was the best at this time. Can't wait to see how Juvi looks like now. I mean, it's been years since he's touched the wrestling. To be honest, the last time we seen Juvi was when he was in WWE with the Mexicools.
Yeah,
that was the very last time. And the Mexicools, even though it's kind of like racial bastardizing and kind of demeaning, I mean, nonetheless, it was entertaining. That's how I took it. But yeah, that was the last time we seen Juvi, so it's going to be a treat to see Jericho and Juvi back in the ring, like if it was WCW, but in an AEW ring, nonetheless. So that's going to be this Wednesday, of course, on TNT. Well, pretty much what's been going on with Impact lately. Some of the things, of course, Don Callis still never shuts up when it comes to Kenny Omega. And we're wondering who's going to be the next opponent. Sami Callihan's not over pretty much with what happened at Slammiversary. So, there's still some things going on there. We saw that Jay White arrived. Of course, he was there for David Finlay and taking it upon the OGs of Bullet Club to see what the hell is their problem. But all they wanted was a thank you, and Jay White did not want anything to do with that. But also he was in recruitment mode because he laid his eyes on Chris Bay, and we've seen how Chris Bay goes. I mean, he would be a really good member to the Bullet Club, to be honest, being on the Impact side of things, because that means he can travel with these guys, he can represent well in Impact. See how long that would last. The women's division still going strong with the Virtuosa holding the fort as the Knockouts champions. And just of other little things. But then, of course, Homecoming took place just last night. We were lucky enough to witness it. It was a really good event. But at the end of it all, we had a new King and Queen. The two mystery partners that were revealed, the first one for Brian Myers was Missy Hyatt. And we all know if you are an old school fan of wrestling, Missy Hyatt was a manager, was an announcer, but she was never a wrestler. So Missy Hyatt, to her credit, she kept herself conservative and decent looking, but her best years were past her back then. She was hot stuff and good looking. But yeah, she was on the side of Brian Myers, like, you brought me in, but I'm not a wrestler. So Brian Myers was pretty much wrestling alone when it came to the bracket of them two against who did they face them? Was it Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green?
I think it was.
Yeah, actually, well, bottom line was Brian Myers and Missy Hyatt lost. Missy Hyatt was already at the at the point of walking away from the wrestling ramp and all the way to the back. And then, of course, they had their promo where, Missy Hyatt was like, yeah, never again. I'm not, never again. Not even call me. No. And he placed his blame on the prospect that he had. What was it? Sam
Beal.
Sam Beal. Yeah, an idiot. Big idiot. But nonetheless, new kings and queens of homecoming. We got to see the Virtuosa's partner. It was none other than the Drama King, who used to be known in the WWE as
Aiden English,
and now he is known as
Matthew Weibel. I think that's how I pronounce his last name.
No, it was Reholt. I think it was
Reholt. Reholt.
I think. Yeah, but nonetheless, he's got a new name. It ain't in English, obviously. So, but he is still known as the Drama King because he carries that Drama King persona from WWE and into Impact Wrestling. So that is good. Yes, what was this first name again?
Matthew.
Yeah, it is Matthew Rayholt. So Matthew Rayholt. If we get this wrong, then I will correct it the next time we get back on there. But nonetheless, the Drama King was the partner for the Virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo, and they are the new homecoming king and queen for this match. Josh Alexander had an incredible X Division Championship defense against Black Taurus, member of Decay. Those two were just incredible to watch, but Josh Alexander proved why he did not want a day off and wanted to be a fighting champion. And he defended that X Division Championship with all of his sweat, all of his tears, with claws, with his teeth. At any point, at any cost, he's still the NXT champion. And also we witnessed the hardcore match. That was the last. That was the main event. W. Morrissey and Eddie Edwards. It was a really crazy match. It really was. What can you recall of seeing that match?
Now these two are practically they're on the verge of turning apart each other. Morrissey wanted to get the last off over Eddie, but apparently after what Eddie has been doing, it was he who pretty much got the last step over Morrissey. But nonetheless, Homecoming was quite a show last night, especially with Eddie Edwards winning, with Josh Alexander retaining the X Division title, especially with Deonna Purrazzo and Matthew Rayholt being proclaimed the homecoming king and queen.
Now we're going to talk about SmackDown. SmackDown was another decent show. We got to see John Cena starting out the show. Pretty much not surprised at the fact that Roman Reigns was going to turn down for his challenge the previous week, and why he accepted Finn Balor's challenge for a match. I thought it was going to be for a SmackDown match, but no, it ended up being a SummerSlam match. And later on in the night, they had a contract signing, and there were words between the head of the table and the tribal chief with the prince. And just to sum it up, it turns out that Baron Corbin, who obviously interrupted Cena in the beginning to begin with, was beating up Finn Balor, threw him out of the ring. He was going to seize an opportunity to sign that contract so it would be him and Roman Reigns, but then all of a sudden Cena came in, ran in, and threw out Corbin, and he signed on the dotted line instead of Finn Balor. So at the end, it ended up being John Cena versus Roman Reigns, the Universal Championship at SummerSlam. So where does that leave Finn Balor? I guess we will wait and see till this Friday. But also in the beginning, Baron Corbin came in, wanted to ask for money on John Cena, and gave him some penny dollars. He was like, "Come on, man, you're Hollywood, you're rich, you got more money than that. Give me some money, man, give me some love." And that wasn't the case. So what he did give him was an attitude adjustment. Also, we got to see Rey Mysterio and Jimmy Uso was an incredible match. Because the Usos were pulling so many tricks up their sleeve and got away with murder in their matches, Rey Mysterio thought that he would pull a fast one, and luckily for him that it went that way along with Dominic. I'm pretty sure they came up with a plan, and Rey Mysterio won over Jimmy Uso. And we got to see a segment where Bianca Belair and Carmella were involved and Selena Vega were involved. And just when Carmella wanted to have another chance at the SmackDown Women's Championship and she had her opportunities and lost, Selena Vega came up with a challenge of her own, and Bianca told her that she would definitely accept. But then it came to a point where they would both just beat her down and, kick her down and beat her down. The return of the boss, Sasha Banks, made a return and to save Bianca Belair from that travesty beating that the champion suffered. An unexpected match happened. The 24/7 on the man title was in defense on SmackDown as his mystery opponent Reginald faced off the one and only Alpha Academy instructor Chad Gable. And it was an incredible match. It was a very athletic match. But unfortunately, of course, having Otis by his side, it was only going to be treachery. And it ended up in DQ. And there was a list of guys coming down. And, of course, Reggie would pull one of his many flips to get away and evade these guys. So, like I said, Reggie is interesting right now, being the 24/7 on the man champion. Very interesting. Edge was going to make his way down to wanting to cut a promo, but once it went to commercial break and then we got back from commercial break, Seth Rollins was already in the ring because they already showed what happened during the commercial break. Seth Rollins came out with a cheap shot and the Joaquin Phoenix Joker version of Seth Rollins. Of course, he was going to pull that maniacal thing. Maniacal stunt. I'm trying to find the words, man, but this just doesn't come out. Maniacal stunt. And like I said, all he needs is a freaking face paint, and the man is golden. His transformation would be absolutely complete. But yeah, Seth Rollins blatantly stated that if he's not going to be the one to win the Universal Championship, then neither is Edge. Bottom line. There was a 6-man tag. Do you recall who those 3 players each?
It was Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Big E taking on.
No, Kevin Owens wasn't seen that night. It was Cesaro.
Oh, Cesaro and Kevin Owens. Yeah, Cesaro. Yeah, Cesaro, Big E, and Cesaro, Big E, and Nakamura
against
the Dirty Dogs.
The Dirty Dogs and Apollo Crews.
Yes.
And the good guys won.
Yes.
Big E, Cesaro, and King Nakamura. Yes. And then, of course, the main event was the women's tag match. Selena Vega, Carmella versus the boss Sasha Banks and the SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair. It was an incredible match all the way up to the very end, where it was only just 2.5 minutes of Sasha Banks and raising Bianca Belair's hand until she finally backstabbed the backstabber. I'm sorry, literally, that took place. And then proceeded to do the bank statement 2 times, but it was only going to get more grueling, more tougher, and barely choking her out. And that's how the show ended up. And ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately for us, we can only say more and do more. But we here with wrestling, we can recap. We're already out of time, and that's the time that we have for this week. So what do you think, Jade? Should we do a live reaction to tomorrow night's Raw from Chicago?
So I said let's do it, but well, we're not gonna be held responsible for the awful lackluster presentation that we're probably gonna witness tomorrow.
Look, this is going to be the deal. We're going to give it to you straight. We're not going to do anything surprising. We're not going to say, oh, I expect us to point out this, and that, and nothing. No, we're gonna give it to you straight. We're gonna pretend that we're not even filming. We're just gonna go with our normal routine. Like if we're watching it, and we're just gonna go with our normal reaction of how, or even if it's something surprising, we'll give it to you 100% straight. We're not gonna botch it. We're not gonna do nothing sneaky. We're gonna give it to you as is. Because we still believe that tomorrow night's Raw from Chicago, from the Allstate Arena, is going to be another disappointment, disaster, and all of that. I mean, just by the fact, and then there's two things that we have not pointed out that we want to get into this episode before we close it out. Just yesterday, or just this past Saturday, WWE released The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. They just released them. Why, we don't know. The last time we will see was WrestleMania, but then we will see on Raw saying that he was going to change his ways, and then nothing. But I still believe that they're going to hire him back somewhere down along the line. Why? Because The Fiend was one of the best characters ever seen and created by the WWE in a long time. So they got to bring him back. Him letting go, I guess that's another one of Nick Khan's plans to cut out the stimulation of money or whatever. And we just found out before we even started this episode that Adam Cole's contract will end at SummerSlam. So, his match with Kyle O'Reilly, could that be the end of Adam Cole's position seen in NXT? Because after that, he's going to have choices to go. He could go back to Ring of Honor. He could go to AEW. He could go to New Japan. Maybe he wants to renew with WWE to stay in NXT. Because supposedly, his contract could have ended up, I think, 4 or 5 months ago, but then it got extended. So, now we're going to have to stay tuned to see what is up with Adam Cole's dates and contracts and where he stands at this point with the business. Is he going to resign with WWE to stay in NXT? Is he going to go elsewhere? Those are the choices that Adam Cole has to make, but that was the latest news that we heard from this past Saturday and just now from what we heard from a reliable source. Adam Cole's contract will end right after SummerSlam. So pretty much TakeOver 36, if he has another match with Kyle O'Reilly, that could be his last if he doesn't resign with WWE. So more on that information, hopefully we'll bring it to you this next Saturday for this week. I hope we get a lot better because even though I'm starting to sound like, is it going to be over? And you better get rid of your cough soon, nonetheless. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. We know that it's late. We know that we don't have no live viewers, but this is still going to be in the archives, and hopefully you get to see this. And hopefully we get to see you for next Saturday, hopefully for another edition of the Wrestling Weekly Recap. If not, then we will definitely air on Sunday to be seen on this platform. And everything that we said and stated is strictly our opinion. It does not necessarily reflect the views of the companies that we talk about or even the platform that we're on displaying all of this information. Nonetheless, the one and only Jade, I am Aceman X. Thank you for watching. We will see you this upcoming weekend. And until then, if you're not vaccinated, now with the new mask mandate, just cover yourselves up, masks up, keep your distance, peace and love worldwide. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good week, everyone.